Tony here with Imported Technology. Gonna go ahead and show you guys how to respring a recoil. Basically what happened on ours is our spring broke and we had to replace the rope, and this is actually my first time doing it and found a pretty simple method to doing so. So basically all you need to do this is you need a piece of board, you need another small skinnier piece of board, you need 3 nails, a hammer, and a 13mm socket for this specific recoil. This is actually off of Arctic Cat SnoPro 440. So basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead, and there's a 13mm bolt in the middle here, and you're going to go ahead and put your ratchet on there and you're going to break it loose. It's actually going to be pretty tight for the first time. You want to tighten it up again pretty strong at the end so it doesn't blow apart. Go ahead and take that screw off. There's going to be a washer here in the middle. Make sure you don't lose that. Then what you're going to do is you're actually going to go ahead and you're going to pull off this little metal, this big metal washer here. There should be a clip on the inside. Make sure you don't lose that. Then you're going to see we got this little, I don't even know what it's called, but you want to go ahead and pull this out, and there's going to be a spring underneath it. You want to make sure you don't lose this either. Remember which way it goes in. On ours, the big end of the spring, the big tab, actually goes into the plastic housing. This is where it's going to get a little bit trickier, because this is where the spring is on the inside of this plastic piece. So what you're going to want to do is you want to put it on a level surface and pull it off nice and slow. You really don't want to go fast with this. I recommend wearing safety glasses. I don't have any at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and be a rebel and do it without. So you want to go ahead and pull it off and put this off to the side. It's going to be greasy, not that big of a deal. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to grab a screwdriver, and you'll be able to see on the inside there's a tab. It's right in between 2 grooves there. Remember which way it swoops. It might be different per recoil, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So basically what we're going to do is I'm going to take my screwdriver and we're going to go ahead and put it in there, and I'm going to hold the spring down while I do it so it doesn't blow apart my face. So you just do it real slow. It'll pop out, and then you just want to pull up real lightly on it, and again it's going to spring out, so you got to be ready to catch it, and it'll spring out just like that. This is the spring that we need to rewind. So we're just going to go ahead and put that off to the side. Now after doing a bunch of research, I found out that the best way to do this is to get a piece of wood and pound in at 2 nails into the wood about 1 inch apart. I've done this a couple times so my nails are kind of bent. It's probably best to use straight ones. So you just want to pound them in about 1 inch apart. Then you want to go ahead and grab your recoil and put it on. These are actually a little bit close together, so I'm going to space them out just a little bit better. And I'm actually going to throw this nail out that's bent. The spacing depends on your coil. It's going to be different for each. So again, you just want to put this on there. Now you'll see this little tab here on the inside. You're going to want to put a nail right in the middle of that so it holds it while we're winding it up. So basically you just want to tap a nail right there, and that'll hold it while we're winding it together. So we got this other piece of wood. Ideally you'd want it a little bit shorter. This is all I have laying around, so this is what I have to use. All we're going to use this for is we're going to use it to hold the spring down from popping up while we're winding it up. So basically, we're just going to take it and start winding it around. This will take a little bit of time. And again, you don't want to pull it real tight and pull this out because you lose the spring tension in there. You want to keep it close to your coil as you're going around. As you keep going, it's going to get a little bit tighter and tighter. I recommend doing this on a workbench if you have one, just because your piece of board won't move around quite as much. Or it won't move at all, actually. See, you gotta be careful, otherwise it'll come off there. Like I said, as you get tighter, it's gonna get harder and harder to do. You really have to be careful not to let this go. Again, safety glasses are not a bad idea. So I'm gonna get on here so I can hold it a little bit tighter. And again, you're really going to feel a lot of tension as you get through here. It makes it tough to work around this little board, which is why I recommend a smaller one. And you really want to go pretty tight because we have to be able to fit in this here. So you want to compare and see about where you're at. Make sure you're smaller than this. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is pretty good here. Now this is where it gets tricky. You got to make sure you don't let this thing go. You have to pull this out. And one thing I forgot to say we need is a vice grips. What we're going to do with the vice grips is we're just going to reach in here and we're going to pinch it. You want to make sure it's tight so it doesn't go flying, but not too tight where you mess it up. So I got it pretty good there. Now what we're going to do is we got to go ahead and we're just going to bend these nails in a little bit so we can get this off. And you're just going to lift it up, pull it off, and we got it nicely wound. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we got to slip this on. Now you got to kind of move it around a little bit so you can get that notch in. It depends on how you wound it, how you sprung it, and how much you left off the one edge. So now what I'm going to do is, now's where it gets kind of tricky. You got to have this into the groove and you want it as tight as possible. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put pressure down on it and you're going to release your pliers nice and slow. You want to use your fingers to kind of let it go out. However she's going to go out, it'll start going on you. Again, just move your fingers around and hold it tight. It'll start unraveling a little bit and it gets caught on the outside. Basically that's all we needed to do. Now we'll have tension when we go ahead and put it back together. So now that we have our spring in there, we got to go ahead and feed our rope in. Make sure you have a nice knot tied, and we always use a lighter and melt it just a little bit to keep it together. Now what we're going to do is you're going to want to make sure that you're going to go ahead and wind the rope around. You got to make sure that you're going the right way though for your recoil. For ours, it's clockwise. We're just going to go around, making sure that it fits in there nice. Our rope is a little bit long, so I'm going to make sure we leave a little bit of slack. You don't want to put too much in there, otherwise you're going to have issues with it binding up around the outside of the recoil. So once you get that, what you do is you go ahead and you put your string through the hole, pull it through, and you're going to go ahead and push this plastic housing with the rope on. Now this is kind of tricky because there's a groove on the back of this plastic piece that'll actually sit in that spring. So you need to kind of move it around a little bit and push down. Don't go hog wild. See here, clip in. We're down now. Sometimes it takes a little bit to do it. Once we get that together, now what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to go ahead and take that spring that we took out earlier. There's going to be a little hole in the plastic that we have here. Slide it in. Again, ours was the long way. I remember that. Go ahead and take this. Put it in exactly the way it came back with catching the other tab that's on the spring to put a little bit of pressure on this. Push that down. Now we have to put this on. Now I always just leave the clip on and you flip it over, and basically we're going to want pressure put on it with that clip so that when this turns it'll actually push this out the way it's supposed to work. So you can see I got it on there right and it spins out when it needs to. Now what we're going to do is you go ahead and you grab the washer, put it back on, grab your nut, which is still in my socket. Go ahead and screw that on, grab your ratchet, tighten it down. You're going to want to go about where you were before this. It's pretty tight, nothing crazy though. If you go too tight it won't spring back, and you can see we're working just fine here. And it's that simple. When we pull it, you see that our clip engage, or our little thing engages to grab onto the motor to spin it. Oh, we let go, it spins back in. Again, we have a little bit of extra outside of ours, but we knew this was going to happen because our rope was a little bit big. It's best to try and compare it to your rope before, because you know that it worked before. But again, ours broke in half, so we couldn't do that. That's another imported technology video. Feel free to post any comments or send me any emails about any questions about this. We'll try and keep videos coming as much as we can. Thank you.